Dear Andy, can you show us some innovative ways to do some healthy cooking? You want to do some innovative cooking? Let's break it down. Welcome to another episode of Break It Down. We are still in the lockdown, so what are we going to do? We're going to try and do some innovative and healthy cooking, and I'm going to try and do it in some crazy ways, maybe some technological ways. But how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to try and do some different meals during the day, but first, let's try and make a loaf of bread using a bread machine. So this is the bread machine. It's a Russell Hobbs, and it allows us to actually do lots of different things with it. If I lift the lid up, you can see that it's got the little pan thing in there with a handle. I'm going to just lift that out. We are going to be going for white bread today. Inside we can see there's a paddle. We need to clean this, so what I'm going to do is just lift that out, and you can see this is what mixes up everything. A little bit dirty there, so I'm going to quickly wash that, and there's a little bit of dirt in there, so we're going to quickly just clean everything. Got a little sponge there. I'm just going to clean out any other crumbs and things that are in there. Make sure it's all nice and clean. And then as for this one, I'm just going to rinse it all out and make sure it's all very nice and ready for us. So clean out the paddle, clean out this thing, make sure there's no dirt in there, makes it nice and fresh. So I'm just going to dry this all off. Now that it's all washed, that's all good. We've got the paddle there. I'm just going to dry this one off as well. Now the paddle, we're going to put that back in, and just remember that the paddle actually has a little strange, unusual shape there. We have to match that up to that little pin type thing there. So I'm just going to put that on, make sure it matches up. That's it, so we are good to go. So now that the machine is ready to make the bread, let's take a look at what ingredients we need. Let's start off with 400 grams or milliliters of water. This is to make one big white loaf. So I need some olive oil. So I've got some olive oil there. We're going to use some salt. We've got some castor sugar. We've got some powdered milk. We have got some strong white bread flour. And of course we've got some yeast. I've actually found this quite difficult to buy during the lockdown, but managed to get some. This is actually a layered approach, so we have to put all these things in the right order. We're going to start with water, and the reason we have to put this in the right order is because of the way that the machine works, so it requires things to be layered. So we start off with the liquid at the bottom. This is because the machine works in a layered way, so you need to have the liquids at the bottom, and then you start putting the solid material, like the flour and things, last. The very last thing is the yeast, because you really don't want the yeast to be mixed with the water. So we'll save that. So we've put in the 400 ml of water. This is to make 1 kilogram white loaf. So we've put in the 400 ml. What's next? Well, next we're going to use the olive oil, and I need to put 2 tablespoons. So I've got a tablespoon right there. So I'm just going to pour in the olive oil. Let's open that up. Okay, so I'm going to pour it over the thing so we don't drop that everywhere. I need 2 tablespoons. So that's the first one. Just pour that in. And this is the second one. Pour that in as well. That's quite good. This kind of sticks a little bit to the spoon, so just be careful. I'd actually just put that away, probably put that in the sink afterwards, and I won't reuse that one. So next will be salt. So what we'll do, we'll take the salt, and it's this is a teaspoon size now that we need. So it was easier just to open the lid of the salt, and I can put it on there. Now you don't need to heap it on, you just need to have it so it's kind of like level with the top of the spoon. So 2 teaspoons should be good. Next, we're going to be using the castor sugar. So castor sugar, I've got this tied up with a rubber band. Let's take that off. We're going to use another tablespoon, slightly bigger. And usually caster sugar is usually quite solid, so I'm going to have to break it up a little bit. It's kind of all stuck together. So let's scoop out some caster sugar, like really, that's a heaped amount. You really don't need to have a heaped amount. You can just kind of like level that off, but that's fine. So I'm quite happy with that. The next ingredient that we're going to be putting in is the milk. So we got the powdered milk. That is a really heaped amount. I'm just shaking it off a little bit. That's one. Come on, this is, you really don't need heaped amount, so I'm going to just level that off. This is how you're supposed to do it. Level it off. That's the kind of amount that you need. There you go. So that's been put in. We're quite happy with that. I'm going to just close that up again so it doesn't spill all over the place, just in case. Right, so now this is what it looks like once you've got all of the liquids all mixed up together with the salt, the sugar, and the powdered milk. Now we need the flour, so we need to weigh this up. When you turn on the scales, it actually gives you 0. But I'm going to be measuring it into this bowl, and the bowl weighs 540 grams. So I don't need that added to my total. So if I hold this down, it should reset the amount back to 0. So I'm going to hold it down. Let's switched it off. So when I turn it back on, it should actually register 0 as the weight. There you go. I need to weigh up 600 grams. So I've got the flour here. This is actually a partially used one from Sol. I'll use what I've got in here. So I'll empty this bag. There you go. So we're about halfway through. We're going to have to open up a new bag of strong white flour. You cannot use plain flour. It has to be strong white flour. It's made slightly differently. This is specifically for breads. So now I'm just going to top this up until I hit that 600 mark. There you go, a little bit more just to get it there. Just a touch more. And we are almost, oh, is that it? A little bit more, there you go. And just a touch. There you go, perfect. Okay, cool. So it's at the 600 mark, exactly. Back to our little baking container. We can take the flour and we just put it all in on top of the liquid that we've got there. So you can see this is where that layering principle comes in. Don't spill it everywhere. There you go, and that is all in there. That's pretty good. And now for the final part of the ingredients. What we need to do is grab the yeast. And we need, I think it's 2.5 teaspoons of this. I have one bag already kind of open from before. Hopefully it'll be just enough. And yeast are kind of like a living thing, so they kind of activate once you, that's what it looks like, once they're mixed with the water. So you don't want them to be mixing with the water. That's why we've added the flour last. So the flour's actually covered everything, and we put the yeast on top, and it will only activate once the machine starts mixing everything together. So I'm just sprinkling it around. And the way that this works is that the yeast, once it starts, when it gets activated, it starts releasing some gases. I think it's carbon, and that's what actually makes it rise. Yeah, as you can see there, it's all there. You can actually set the machine as well to have a timer, so you can set it for, say, early in the morning to start off, and that's where you really don't want the yeast to mix with the water early. So that's a good thing. We are not going to be setting it on a timer. We are going to go and take it straight to the machine. So let's do that. So pick it up by the handle, and I can lift that and take that to the machine. So we're at the machine. I've got the baking container. I'm going to plug that in to the machine, like so. and push it down. Make sure it's solidly in so it doesn't get shaken around. Just close the container. Now it would help if you actually plugged it in. And this is where you can actually turn it on and start the machine. I actually started this without filming it, so I'm just going to explain the controls of what I did. Okay, so this is the menu button that allows you to choose the style of bread that you're going to be making. The display shows you the time it's going to take. It's 3 hours 20, so we're 2 minutes in. This is the size, so you press that and then it will give you one of the sizes. We're doing the largest size, and this is the how dark you want the crust, and you can choose, we're going to do the darkest one. And then you press the start machine and it starts whisking away. So it's going to take 3 hours 20 minutes of it whisking and then cooking, and then you need about half an hour to cool down. So a few minutes later you can see it's actually resting a little bit now, so it's giving it a chance to rise, and it will continue mixing. It's started up again, so you can see that it's still working away. So while that is now cooking and mixing and doing its thing, we can just leave it. We can go and make ourselves some nice breakfast. So, how does bacon and eggs sound? Mmm, tasty. Let's go and make some bacon and eggs, but maybe in a slightly different way. So what do we need for this? We have got bacon, we have got eggs, and we have got some olive oil. Yes, I'm going to be cooking with olive oil. So what I'm going to do is take the olive oil, and I'm going to pour that into the pan. Now, olive oil is supposed to be a bit healthier than sunflower oil or vegetable oil, so we can try cooking with that. We're going to turn it up and let that heat up. Mix the olive oil all around, make sure it's all coated nicely everywhere. So once that's all heated up, we can start putting on the bacon. Now you're thinking, Andy, we know how to make bacon. I know, okay, just give it a second. I'll show you how to do some eggs in some crazy way. So, we have got streaks of bacon. And what I've noticed is that in America, they actually make bacon slightly differently. It's really kind of crispy, I really like crispy bacon. I think in the UK we make it slightly different, so some Americans might find this quite interesting. I'm using tongs so I don't actually burn my fingers. Make sure you turn it around. We've cooked it one side. I'll just turn it around there, let it cook a little bit longer. Once that's cooked a bit more on that side, I'm going to come back and I'm going to turn them again. You can see that the olive oil has got that kind of green kind of colour. It gives it a really good taste as well, so that's quite good. I'm going to be turning it one last time, I think. So you can see that is nicely cooked on that side. You can see the oil just dripping off there. But the oil itself is much nicer. I can feel myself getting hungry. But yes, it's good. So, now that that's all done, we can start taking that out. So what I'm going to do is, let's drip the oil off. Let it drip off again, and we've got our bacon is pretty much ready on this plate. So far, so good. You're thinking, Andy, this isn't innovative. Is it? Olive oil? Bear with me. So now that we've got our bacon on the plate, let's take a look at doing some eggs using exactly the same oil. So I usually take a cup, get an egg, and crack it open. It's going to be quite hard doing this with one hand, because I usually crack it with two hands and put the glass on the table. But now that I've got the egg, I'm going to place that into the frying pan. So I'm using the same olive oil that was used for the bacon. So that's good. So this is kind of a traditional way that you would make an egg. I usually get a knife as well and pop any of those bubbles. I've just noticed that a bit of shell went into the pan, so I've just scooped that out. So let's cook that away. That's looking quite nice and tasty. I love fried eggs. Okay, so I'm popping the bubbles there. I usually do that because I'm a bit worried that if the bubbles pop, it will just spray hot oil everywhere. Let's just get the spatula now and scoop that out. And we have got perfect egg and bacon. Perfect. Bacon and eggs. But let me show you a different way of making an egg. A way I like to call the Aqua Fry Method. Ooh. So what I do, I usually get a small pan. This is big enough for an egg. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of using oil, no oil you say? No oil at all. I'm going to actually just fill that with water. And we're going to aqua fry this egg. So my first attempt at doing this actually went a little bit wrong. I actually put too much water in. And the problem is, if you put too much water, it just becomes a poached kind of egg, which is not great. Let's start again. I put a much shallower amount of water, but that is perfect. We let that heat up. We grab the egg. I just do it in the same method. I like putting it into the glass simply because I once had a bad experience when I opened up an egg and it was like all red and stuff. So I always like to look at it before I put it into the pan. So now that that's kind of like bubbling and heating up quite nicely, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the egg and we're just going to put it into this simmering water. And get ready for the aqua fry. It's boiling, and here we go. We put it in. That's perfect, great. So now, we let this cook away, and as you can see, it is cooking. There's no oil, no nothing. It's just cooking away in that simmering water. You'll see that the edges have gone white, which is really nice. It's still kind of raw in that middle bit there, so we need to just keep cooking that. I'm going to try and see if I can either get some water onto it or get some of that white in the middle to actually cook by just moving the pan around slightly. But you can see it's all simmering away. Don't worry about that. And what it's doing, it's cooking away. We just focus in there slightly better for you. You can see that the middle bit there is still needs cooking. Just keep cooking away. If you need to, move the pan around a little bit. And in the meantime, what it's doing, not only is it cooking the egg and simmering the water, but the water is also evaporating. Okay, so that's nearly there, and the water is almost all completely evaporated, and I think that's almost pretty much perfect. So what we'll need to do is grab that spatula in a second, and then we'll be ready. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking really good. So let's get our plate. Let's get the spatula. There you go. That's all done. Perfect. And because that's cooked in water, it's going to be quite easy to clean as well. And I can put that with my bacon and eggs over here. So the beauty of this is that it looks like a fried egg, but it tastes like a boiled egg. And you can see the difference. And because we haven't used any oil, that's going to be a lot healthier. So that's the thing. Let's see the taste test. How would my mum like it?
This one, the second one, is no fat at all?
No fat at all.
As I said, for 6 weeks, and when he was last at Prime Minister's Questions, fewer than 5
Very nice.
people had lost their lives.
What does it taste like?
Very nice.
Does
it taste like a boiled egg?
The country has been
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So it's low calorie, my mum said, so that she loves it and it's good for the health. Let's go back to the bread and see how that's doing. So it's 2 hours 9 minutes to go, and it is resting. It is waiting for the bread to rise. That's pretty good. 208. We'll come back to this a bit later. So you've seen how to cook bread. You've seen how to make the Aqua Fry method for making a what looks like a fried egg, but it's actually a boiled egg. But now I'm going to show you how you can make a curry. So what you'll need for this is some rice. We're going to be using some chicken breast strips. You can either use this or some prawns. I'm going to go with chicken today. And I'm going to be using some mixed vegetables. Now the machines I'm going to be using for this are a rice cooker and a steamer. And then of course we have got a choice of sauces that we can use. We'll see which one we're going to choose afterwards. So let's start with the rice. So the first thing you want to do is take the bowl from the rice cooker, and inside you will find a little measuring cup. What I'm going to do is measure out enough rice for a meal. Usually these are quite tasty, so it's good advice to always make a little bit more, because someone else will always come along and say, oh, can I have some? So let's measure out maybe 2 cups of rice for this time. So let's do that. So grab the rice. I'll probably do it over the bowl just in case it screws up and it goes everywhere. So I'm just going to measure that's 1 and that's 2. If it's too much, I can always have seconds. So now that I've got that, let's put that away. What we need to do is wash the rice slightly, because there's going to be a lot of starch on there. So let's do that. What you'll see is the rice is in here, in the bowl. And if I start mixing it, you'll start seeing the water will start going really cloudy. And this is because the starch is coming off. So this is what you kind of have to do when you're cooking rice, unless you're really in a hurry. Have a look at that. That is like really cloudy now. And once you're done, you can rinse that off and put some more water. So I'm going to do that a few times and get it as clean as I can get it. I'm going to just keep rinsing it and the water will just flow out. So once you're happy with that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drain the water out. I'm just going to put my hand here as well, just to make sure that I don't lose any of the rice. You could use a sieve or something, but if you're in a hurry, you don't need to do that. That's good. So I'm quite happy with that. And this is what we've got. So we've got our rice, which is cleaned. So the question is, Andy, how much water should I put in with the rice? Well, when you're using a rice cooker, remember that cup of rice? We need 1 cup of water for every cup of rice. So, 2 cups of rice, we need 2 cups of water. So let's do that. So there you go. 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of water. It's quite good, perfect. So now we've got this, we're going to put this into here. Put some rice, loose rice there, just put that in. And we are pretty much good to go. I am going to cover this up. And all we need to do, plug it in and turn it on. Now it will know how long it needs from the weight of when you've turned it on. So it's calculated the amount of water and the amount of rice and the weight of it, and now it knows how long it will take. It will be ready once that red light goes to orange. So we'll leave that, and in the meantime we're going to go now and cook the chicken and the mixed vegetables. Hold on, Andy. You've forgotten something, haven't you? A little bit of salt. Let's add this to the rice. So let's take that off. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to the rice. So I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil. And I'll pour just a little bit. Put that in. We're going to get the steamer ready. As you can see, there's a 3-tiered steamer. We only need to use 2 of those. That top one is usually used for rice cooking, but we've already got the rice machine. So let's fill this bit up with water. These 2 are going to be the different layers of things that we're going to put inside them. And this one is the base. Let's unplug that and fill this up with water. So just rinse it out. Make sure that it's got the water you need up to the level. That's good. Rinse this out. Rinse that. Place that one back onto there. Just going to rinse these ones as well. Those go on top of each other like that. I can now place these onto here. So what's going to go first? I think we're going to put the chicken in first. So let's just cut that open. Rinse our chicken. I'm not going to do all of it. So that's the first layer. And now I'm going to be doing the mixed vegetables. What's really good about the mixed vegetable bag is that it's actually got a Ziploc bag in there, which is really nice. So I can open the Ziploc bag, grab what I need out of there, and then seal it up again. That should be plenty. Still got half a bag in there, so now I can just close the Ziploc bag. That should prevent anyone from accidentally opening it. Actually, because if you open it up slightly, you can squeeze all the air out. That'll save a little bit of space. Then close it again, and that's that. Those are done. So now we can put the lid back on. Put that on there. So now all I need to do is just plug this in and set the timer. So I'll just time it. Let's do 50 minutes. It won't take that long, but I like doing it like that. And it's one of those things that you can't really overcook it, so it's fine. We're going to let that cook. This is going to heat up the water. It's the same with this, actually. They've both got little kind of electric heater things inside them, and they are heating the water. A little bit like, it's kind of like hydroponics for cooking. We are cooking with water. So we've cooked an egg with water. We're cooking these with water. What this will do is heat up the water. It will turn to steam. Steam will come up through the holes of these things, and it will use the hot water to cook the chicken and the vegetables. And what's really great about steaming is that the vegetables won't lose a lot of the nutrients and stuff when you actually, if you cook them properly, like fry them or something, they lose all the nutrients. They won't with steaming, which is good. And we will now leave those cooking away, and we will come back to them a little bit later. So while that's all cooking away, let's take a look at how the bread is doing. Okay, so 7 minutes to go, and we have got a nice browning loaf. That's pretty cool. Quite pleased with that. Let's fast forward to when the countdown's finished. What are we gonna do? So now that it's beeped, we have to get a piece of wood and some oven mitts. What we're going to do is we are going to put the wood down, get the oven mitts, open up the machine. Be careful, it's hot, but we cannot touch it with our hands. So you have to use the oven mitts to grab the handle. So we reach in, we grab the handle, and we should, with a big pull, well, make sure you don't burn yourself, pull it out and put it on the wood so you don't burn the table. So the bread looks amazing. That handle is still very hot, so use the oven mitts to do it. What we need to do to get the bread out is actually turn this thing upside down, and we're going to have to shake it loose. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. Right, so we can see it's kind of like shaking loose a bit. If we lift it up, there we go. Just make sure that the paddle isn't stuck inside the bread. It's in there. I'm going to like... and there we go. And this is what it will look like. We need to actually leave that to cool down for 30 minutes. But if you want to see what it will look like after 30 minutes, turn it back up. And that's my loaf of bread. Amazing! But I'm going to just leave it to cool down. Leave it upside down because of the moisture and stuff. And there you go. That is a nice, beautiful loaf of bread. Let's get back to the steaming. The rice is finished, but the rest of the stuff is still cooking. So what happens with the rice steamer is once it has actually finished cooking, it goes from red to orange. But what that does, it keeps it warm, which is good. So you can see here, it's gone from red to orange, and the rice looks amazing. It looks really well done. There's a little hole there where the steam would be escaping from. And that is pretty much ready to go, but we need to wait now for all this stuff. I would have normally have started it at the same time and they would finish around the same time, but because of the way that I've made this video, I did them step by step so I could show you how to do it. I am getting hungry. Let's fast forward to the end. What I need is a bowl. Why? Well, what we're going to do is put the curry sauce into this one. So what we're going to choose, whoops, we are going to choose one of the two. What should I go for? Korma or Rogan Josh? Spicy or coconut creamy? You know, I had this one last time, so I think maybe I'll mix it up and go for some coconut creamy. I think I'm in the mood for some of that. So I'll go for this, and what's good is that once I'm done with this, save the jar, and I can use it for soaking some seeds for my indoor garden. So that's good. So let's go and add that to the bowl. So, got the korma. Let's open that up, or just put this all in here. That's good, and we can save this jar for something else. Then we put this into here. I'm going to warm this up for a couple of minutes. Okay, so once that's done, let's get that out. I'm going to use some cloth to make sure I don't burn my hands. And we will take that to the steamer. Okay, so this is nearly done. This is done. And we have our heated up korma sauce from the microwave. So what I'm going to do, remember when you're handling hot things, especially rice, you need to use a wooden spoon, and I've got everything else I need. So what I'm going to be doing is taking the chicken and the vegetables and adding them to the curry sauce. So we might as well start with that. So you have to be very careful. This is about to end anyway, but what I'm going to do, when I lift this up, you will see all the steam start coming out of it, and there's water. You see how much, almost like condensation because of the steam. Be very careful when you're doing this. So I'm going to just move that over here. What I might use is that cloth again, just to make sure, and I don't know if you can see this, but under here, this is the level of water. The water was up to here, and it's gone all the way down to here. So that's quite cool. I shouldn't have touched that because that is quite hot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the vegetables now. Let's drain that off slightly. I'm just going to put the veg into the curry. Okay, so that's all in there, that's nice. And now the last part, I'm just going to put that in the sink. Normally what you do is if you take the, if you finish with one layer, you can always put the lid back on. You can carry on cooking that way, layer by layer, because it's compartmentalized. But in this case, I think we're done. So I am going to take this off. If there's any condensation, take that off. I can put that in the sink now because we are done. Just get my cloth. I can lift that up and see any of the water dripping off. Will just drop back into there. And now I can put the chicken into here. So now that I've got all the chicken and stuff into there, and what I can do, instead of just waiting for it to end, I can just unplug it. And what that will do is it will stop the heating element, but the timer will still keep going, which is good. So now, all I need to do is mix this all together. So what I'm going to do is just start from the bottom and just keep turning and mixing, turning and mixing. And so now all the steamed vegetables and steamed roast chicken is going to be covered with the curry sauce. And that's that. So now all I need to do is grab a plate, grab this, a bit of condensation, but that's fine. We'll take that off, we'll put that there. Grab the wooden thing, and you actually see what the rice looks like in there. Looks amazing. Just gonna break it apart a bit. And you'll see that the rice becomes kind of like, it's really kind of nice, really nice and fluffy. And so now I'm just going to just grab some of the rice and put it in the plate. Remember, that was just 2 cups, 2 small cups of rice, and now I can put some of the curry into here. Let's put that on top. Our survey says, now that is pretty good, and there you go. This is now ready to eat. And there you go. The curry is made, and it's all nice, and it's looking and smelling really good, really good. And I love coconut, so the korma is going to be amazing. So you have seen how to make bread in a bread machine. You've seen how to aqua fry, my little technique that I made up for kind of frying egg in water. It looks like a fried egg, but tastes like a boiled egg. Trademarked by Dr. G. And finally, we saw how to make a lovely chicken korma without using any oil, apart from whatever oil was in the jar. But it uses steam, we use the rice cooker, and very, very healthy. And I'm actually going to give this a quick taste now and see how this goes. I'm joking, it is lovely. Sorry guys, I'm really busy now. I'm going to have to talk to you a little bit later. Until next time, enjoy the lockdown, make some healthy food, grow some beautiful gardening stuff, make some lovely bread, have some tasty aqua fried eggs, and until next time, break it down.